to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Returning to the concept and idea of prosperity for another episode. Recently I read some Vernon Howard, and I wanted to read a little bit more. He has a chapter in his book, The Magic of Your Personal Mind Power, that is called Forces That Make You More Money. It's a good discussion of the forces that can allow you to make more money in your life, and will add to our list of wonderful episodes we've done on bringing prosperity into your life. Forces that make you more money. All of us realize that money making is not the central purpose of life, yet it is an absolute necessity as well as a pretty wonderful convenience. Financial fullness enables us to provide better for the needs of those who depend upon us. Also, it is man's right to surround himself with as many luxuries and comforts as possible. With these ideas in mind, let's find out how anyone can easily do more to easily make more. We begin with the fantastic force of Operation Opposite. You're about to profit from a prosperity plan whose simplicity will leave you delighted, whose possibilities leave you eager, and whose outcome may well leave you with an incoming fortune. You think I've gone wild over the idea? I have. I've personally proven its extraordinary power dozens of times in situations which seemed no more than ordinary. And so have thousands of men and women who have consciously or unconsciously put it to the test. You also may hail as a miraculous means for financial fullness, if you will, but put it into earnest practice. I call it Operation Opposite. Let's see it in action in a real-life drama. The business affairs of young Phineas T. Barnum, an up-and-coming showman, had reached the point where something drastic had to be done. True, his American Museum in New York City was collecting the crowds with its oddities and curiosities, among them General Tom Thumb, the 2-foot midget. But Barnum was still, in his own words, at the foot of fortune's ladder. He needed a special attraction of some kind that would lift him skyward. So he started glancing around for something within his circle of talents, yet more daring, more contrasting, and hence more profitable. His search turned toward Europe, where a young collateral soprano was being applauded as the sweetest songbird of all time. Called Jenny Lind and hailed as the Swedish nightingale, she so enchanted Hans Christian Andersen that he wrote of her, "No books, no men have had a more ennobling influence upon me than Jenny Lind." Barnum's quick mind leaped like an acrobat. Jenny Lind, a voice. Here was something with dramatic possibilities in the hands of the right man. Barnum cheerfully decided he was the right man. His agent contacted Jenny, who had offered to tour America for $1,000 per concert, plus the right to sing for charity as often as she liked. Barnum considered briefly and signed. The new challenge exploded the showman's already torrid talents for extravagant publicity. No longer was he confined to the four walls of his 25-cent museum. America itself was his target and paying customer. His building up of Miss Lind succeeding so sensationally that 30,000 thrilled Americans were on hand to cheer her incoming ship. She who had yet to sing them a note. Came Jenny Lind's first concert, and Barnum's last doubt disappeared. The Swedish nightingale enticed America to her feet. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow came to visit and praise. Jenny and Barnum spent an evening at the White House as guests of President Fillmore. A Pittsburgh woman named her twins Jenny Lind and P.T. Barnum. Barnum's clear share from 93 concerts came in the neighborhood of $185,000, which was a somewhat richer neighborhood than that of the 25-cent museum. Nightly, Barnum beamed over the packed houses to conclude happily that fortune is well within the hands of any enterprising man. He may not have termed it as an operation opposite, but he did demonstrate it as one. Do you see the basic idea? It's simply this. If what you are now planning and now doing is not adding dollars to your bank account, then you must subtract it from your schedule and strike it out in an opposite direction. The logic here is irrefutable. Since what you are now doing is more or less ineffective, then it is surely something that in the reverse direction, that is, something you are not now doing, that will turn the trick. As a perfect example of how non-reversal of habitual actions cause failure, take the basic merchandising idea of buying low and selling high. Now you'd say that every wise businessman surely does this. Yet speaking of the principle in connection with stock investments, Harold P. Greiver writes, perhaps this sounds too simple. Actually, it is a method that is utilized by very few. Human nature being what it is natural to rush to buy when everyone else is buying and to sell when everyone else is selling. Look at any successful businessman and you must find that he is proceeding in reverse fashion from the failure to repeat. This is so obvious a truth, it is usually overlooked. Now then, you are clearly aware of your present techniques, are you not? I mean by this your mental outlooks and your emotional moods and your physical actions. That is, you know that you are doing business according to your particular nature. So at once you see clearly what must be done to turn yourself towards overwhelming victory. What must be done is to apply operation opposite to the various departments of your personality. For instance, could it be that your plans to increase your dollar value to your company are irregular and unsystematic? Then it's perfect logic to assume that constancy in organization will raise you high above the average. There is an operation opposite for every one of those ineffective actions which may pin you down. The beauty is that you can pick out a reverse direction that is as easily as you pick up a book. And speaking of books, search your dictionary for words that mean the direct opposite of whatever hampers your present endeavors. You'll find hundreds of ways to put the operation into full-time play. For example, the reverse of frozen thinking would be free expression of your innermost ideas. Certainly a power that wins the day in many a situation that calls for creativity. You see, most of our obstacles are caused by a lack of identification of those very obstacles. This technique shows you exactly where you can go in reverse in order to really go forward. Perhaps you will take up the challenge as did one fellow whom we will call Walter. He had a small insurance agency that remained small in spite of its ambition. All his efforts were commonplace, as feeble as a pussycat's punch. Operation Opposite was his bugle call to battle. Remaining at his desk one night, he intelligently realized that reverse actions were the answer, even if they seemed impractical, and especially if they were of an appealing nature but which caused him to hesitate. Two of his present conditions and their opposites were, 1. A misunderstanding of customer motivation and its opposite of a knowledge of human nature, and 2. A small advertising budget and its reverse of expanding publicity. Let's see how both of these paid off. Walter determined to investigate the secrets of human buying behavior to find out what motivated folks who sought insurance. He rightly reasoned that this alone could empower him to sway more sales. One of the secrets discovered in a psychology book was that most people are not really interested in the fine details of a policy. Indeed, even to discuss them causes distress and embarrassment, for most folks have difficulty following along, especially since they are already tense over the decision to buy or not. Walter saw that he should emphasize in glowing and sincere terms the overall feelings of security and comfort found in the policy. Here was something everyone understands, for security is a basic human need. You can see how Walter became a far more serviceable salesman. His customers' appreciation helped to turn the line of his sales chart from horizontal to vertical. Step 2 of Operation Opposite concerned his advertising. Reasoning that his limited publicity marked him as a small office, he boldly purchased the whole back package of a paperback business directory covering his community. So every time a resident picked it up to phone a druggist or plumber, he caught sight of Walter, a fair percentage phoned him also. If someone says that placing a full-page ad wasn't a particularly daring or original idea, I want to emphatically point out that it was as far as Walter was personally concerned. He had at least made the breakthrough toward expansion, and who knows how far he'll go from there. In itself, the ad was commonplace, but how many devices which are commonplace to the $50,000 a year man who would be considered daring to you? That's the point to grasp. Whatever your present business, or whatever you plan a new venture, you can expect miracles from Operation Opposite. It's all a matter of reversing results by reversing the causes of those results. How easily success appears to the man who personally proves an already proven technique. A new kind of enthusiasm that lasts. So far we've covered some of the areas where enthusiasm can help, but let's relate it specifically to your financial planning. I've lost count of the number of business people who have said to me, "Mr. Howard, I know that I've got to maintain a fiery enthusiasm if I'm to increase my income, but to be perfectly honest, I just can't keep it up. I may start off in the morning like a blazing arrow, but just let a deal or two fall through and my spirits fall with them. How can I keep on fire all day long? Enthusiasm is certainly a power that helps you to make more money in the form of sales commissions, wages, business fees, extra bonuses. No one questions that. The vital question is, how do we acquire a steady enthusiasm that simply cannot be drenched by disappointing events? The answer is found in a rather deep exploration of the whole business of enthusiasm. I want you to think carefully along with me in this regard, for we are about to discover a psychological principle of startling significance. Tell me, what do you do about it when you feel discouraged or unenthusiastic? Most of us try to induce a better feeling by pumping the mind with optimistic ideas. Now, this may give a temporary lift to our spirits, but the fragile feeling is soon smashed once more by the grim reality of another financial setback. So we're right back where we started, perhaps even more discouraged than before. Supposing that some morning you determine to start off with a bang, so you can change yourself with enthusiasm. Race down to your job while telling yourself, today I'm going to sell at least 3 extra refrigerators, or whatever else represents extra income. But then, supposing the day turned out no better than before, what is your natural reaction? Quite logically, you are going to frown. Bunk. Nothing came of my eagerness. It doesn't really pay. Why try? Now you're really in for a spell of inaction that certainly won't woo wampum. Look carefully, and you will see that this is what always happens whenever results turn out differently from what your forced enthusiasm hoped they would be. Dismay and lifelessness are sure consequences when the self-created ideal meets the real. This kind of coldly calculated eagerness is like a balloon. It may go up, but something's sure to puncture it. Now that we've exposed this deceptive lady who masks herself as enthusiasm, how can we build the genuine article which serves us with quiet and persistent power? We can practice what I like to call alert nonchalance, which, in spite of the seeming contradiction of terms, is one of the greatest powers you possess for making money or anything else. Alert nonchalance means that you attend to your business with a mind alert to opportunity, yet entirely unconcerned with results. It means a mental and emotional state that is relaxed and hence creative. Power is so characteristically calm that calmness in itself has the aspect of power. Bulwer Lytton. If you wonder how you can be nonchalant and enthusiastic at the same time, I say that it is only when you are both of these that you possess that special force which impels you toward your financial fortunes. Too many people picture enthusiasm as all bounce and noise, when in truth it is quietly modest force that reveals itself not in outward show but in solid productivity. Please think of some successful operation outside your job, for instance, driving your car. When you get behind the wheel, you don't think, I'd better charge myself with some confident thoughts about my driving, otherwise I might not make it to the market. Of course you don't. Your alert nonchalance is your inner power for skillful driving. You are quietly enthusiastic without even thinking about it. If you did have to charge yourself with enthusiasm, the very act would indicate not enthusiasm, but quite another thing, nervousness, which might well make you a poor driver. No, genuine enthusiasm cannot always be forced into existence, but it can often be invited by a quiet mind. Enthusiasm is inward, mere excitement outward, sterling. Kenneth, our real estate broker, had this to say to me one morning as we had breakfast together. My office represents about 1/50th of the total real estate firms in the area, yet records show that we snare about 1/10 of total monthly sales. All because of this thing you call alert nonchalance. My casual ways save me from emotional knots after a deal falls through or when sales move slowly. Since I never demand that things happen exactly like this or that, I just can't get discouraged. And that's why I have more creative enthusiasm than all my competitors put together. My associates and I have an office procedure that would shock most sales experts. We deliberately set out to get not sales, but as many no sales as we can get per day. We can do this because we are emotionally prepared to meet them with utter nonchalance. It's like this. Say a customer comes in requesting a home with plenty of seclusion. Well, we canvass as many not-for-sale homes of this type as we can. We turn down maybe 49 times, but quite often we catch that 50th fellow just when he wants to sell out and more. We've got so much resourceful enthusiasm that we reverse the whole strategy. That is, we go after the no sales. The sales? They nonchalantly come our way. By the way, reader, note the operation opposite here. Perhaps you now see that forced enthusiasm are mere cover-ups for subconscious doubt and timidity, and therefore easy prey to financial rebuffs. But alert nonchalance is quite a superior attitude which cannot be discouraged because it contains no fear of failure. Notice that you are never afraid of anything toward which you are nonchalant. You possess quiet confidence in relation to it. So practice alert nonchalance in all your business ventures and let yourself in on a delightful surprise. Knowledge of money-making principles. When you come right down to it, there is plainly just one basic power principle that governs all your money-making activities. It determines whether your selling or investing or laboring shall return rich or poor profit. Roger W. Babson, who is perhaps the greatest financial expert of the century, supplies a clue to this power by pointing out, business conditions depend chiefly on what men do. What men do depends on what they believe and think. I mean that men act according to their real beliefs and valuations, not necessarily according to what they say they believe and think. What we subconsciously believe and think about money has actually everything to do with our financial position. No man ever made or lost a dollar without first making or losing it mentally. This is a forthright principle of finance that you and I prove to ourselves with every money-making venture. It works for our gain or loss, whether or not we are aware of its existence. Yet our awareness can turn it into a power for prosperity. Recently, I had proceeded to this point in an informal lecture when a determined-looking gentleman in the audience raised his arm to remark, "Mr. Howard, please pardon the interruption, but I'm afraid you'll talk so long you won't tell us exactly what we should believe about money, so if you don't mind." As soon as the laughs died down, I plunged immediately into the psychology of money making. This also is a fine idea for this section. There are books galore that supply adequate information on the mechanics of salesmanship and job efficiency and the like, so we won't repeat them here. We need to profitably explore the very heart of the matter, which is your beliefs about the art of making money come true. I suggested to that eager gentleman, as I now suggest to you, that the beliefs you should adopt are those that would have if money were now yours in abundance. Why is it essential that we do this? It's obvious that if you presently believe that money is hard to come by, that it takes lucky breaks, that the competition is killing, you have at once choked off the very forces of imagination and resourcefulness that you need. It's a psychological law that a thought produces a similar act. As a young salesman, I used to think it hard to land new accounts for my pie and cake route, so I sorrowfully let it go at that for a few months. But getting tired of the assumption, I decided to believe that I had 10 new markets on my string. Acting upon the new belief, I went ahead and solicited as many markets as it took to turn that assumption into a fact. That new belief was my driving energy that gave me not 10 new accounts, but 23. I was too eager to stop at 10. Please take careful note of this significant idea. If you had actually entered a large sum of money, you would have learned a few things in the process, wouldn't you? In other words, you would believe in money-making principles somewhat different from the old ones. So if you can find out what these enriching mental viewpoints are right now, before learning the hard way, you have slashed wasteful trial and error to a bare minimum. So supposing that you now had wealth in abundance, what would you have learned in the process of acquisition? I mean, what would be your personally proven beliefs? You would, 1, believe that one must take utterly realistic attitudes towards money, which is not the same thing as grim attitudes. This means that we should see things as they are, not as our hopes fancifully shape them. Money is like love, nice to dream about, but much better to really possess. 2, believe that you presently possess all powers necessary for attaining wealth, though some of them may need to be awakened, expanded, and directed. Man was born to be rich, or inevitably grows rich by the use of his faculties. Property is an intellectual production. The game requires coolness, right reasoning, promptness, and patience in the players. Emerson. 3. Believe that financial errors show you what not to do. Consequently, by being willing to make enough of them, you are left with clear ideas of what to do. A man of my acquaintance wanted to own his own bustling grocery market. Through a series of mistakes, he learned a few things, such as don't expect all your friends to become loyal customers, don't locate where population growth is limited, don't understock for the sake of a tight budget. Customers don't want the last can of corn, they're impressed by towering stack. He made so many of the right kind of mistakes that he now owns a healthy young chain of supermarkets. 4. Believe that not only is wealth plentiful in general, but that it is specifically and personally available. You would believe this if you were wealthy, so start personalizing money right now, regardless of how things seem. 5. Believe in the law of investment and return. This means that the quality and quantity of your investment determines the character of the return. An investment could be a better cup of coffee if you run a cafe, or a quicker cup of coffee if you serve diners in that cafe. Investment is any service you can give which another wants and appreciates. 6. Believe that simplicity, open-mindedness, tact, cooperation, and consideration are wealthy characteristics that have a way of enticing material wealth. 7. Believe that anxiety, cynicism, impatience, dejection, and fickleness are poor enough habits to keep anyone poor. 8. Believe that opportunities need only to be recognized, not desperately searched for. They are incidentally recognized quite easily by those who have a clear picture of money-making laws. One evening, a group of businessmen, including myself, gathered to glean a few gems from an elderly, highly respected clergyman who knew just as much about the financial world as he did about spiritual realms. Going to the blackboard, he printed, "Magnificent opportunities now easily yield." He set down the chalk with twinkling remark, "I'm not sure if that's grammatically correct, but I'm certain it spells out money." 9. Believe that a clear appraisal of yourself is a tremendous help in selecting your special enterprise. Sir Isaac Newton didn't think himself cut out to be a farmer, so he went on to startle the world with his scientific discoveries. 10. Believe that anyone can make money more, faster, sure, by believing that the preceding 9 practical principles. The magic of dynamic duplication. Consider this remarkable heartening fact. All great fortunes, all cash-creating ideas, in fact, every dollar being earned at this very moment results from the dynamic duplication. In other words, by repeating something previously done by someone else. No money-making plans are entirely original. All are variations or modernizations of time-tested methods. To even mention such profitable agencies as entertainment, salesmanship, building, hauling, and so on is to stamp them as old reliables. The duplication is your framework. Your special covering of that framework is what makes it dynamic, hence profitable. You don't have to try to think up fanciful ways to flirt with fortune. Your best bet is to settle for an already successful formula and study it. Pull it apart. Talk it over with experts. Spend every spare moment kicking it around. I recall one man of artistic inclination who used to enjoy poking around ceramic shops in his spare time. He had a keen interest in clay work, such as jars, vases, wall mottos. His enthusiasm reached the point where he started dabbling around on his own, turning out small models for home decoration. Being practical as well as artistic, he began wondering about something. Could this ancient art be adapted to modern merchandising? Maybe it could. But how? He had the duplication, but what about the dynamic part? What special effect? What's fresh appeal? An unusual shape or size that didn't seem to be the answer, and the cost of raw materials denied the advantage of a lower price than usual. What? How? One evening his wife chuckled as she passed through his workshop. Seems a botched clay figure turned out to resemble a grinning, mischievous-looking little imp. He was about to rub the grin off its face when he remembered that chuckle. Maybe others would chuckle too. He decided to find out if clay work could be commercially funny. He deliberately botched a few more mischievous imps and set them out to grin as passers-by. They grinned back. Lots of them were eager to pay for the privilege of carrying home their chuckles. Our man now chuckles at the ease with which he turned an old art into a new cash. Even the dynamic part of your program need not be entirely original. Sometimes it's quite enough to duplicate the good job done by another. Yet I can never get over how many otherwise alert people fail to profit by the knowledge and experience of those whose success proves their reliability. An athletic coach once phoned to inform me eagerly that he was going to write a book on the subject of track and field athletics. Fine, I told him. There's a need for up-to-date instruction on the subject. I then started to suggest that he visit the library to get ideas for his writing style, but he cut me short with, "No need for that, I've been coaching long enough to know what to do." A few weeks later, he called me back with sheepish apology. "What a mess. I see what you mean by observing the experts. I won't make that mistake twice. That open-minded coach will collect book royalties all right." The beauty of dynamic duplication is that it is applicable to any financial venture, whether that means your fresh start or an addition to your established business. To summarize, all fortunes are made by reproducing basic formulas that made previous fortunes. And these formulas are available to all who earnestly observe. Baron Rothschild chose to repeat the principles of investment. Mark Twain mastered the art of authorship. Henry Ford learned how to produce low-cost automobiles. And for every Rothschild or Ford with their millions, there is a Smith or Jones with their tens of thousands. The enormous possibilities of dynamic duplication are frequently overlooked because of the complexities of the human mind. We think we have to do things the hard way, which is the only thing really that makes things hard. Whenever you see a man who is successful in society, try to discover what makes him pleasing, and if possible, adopt his system. Lord Beaconsfield. Profitable pointers. 1. Whatever your other plans, be sure to add operation opposite to them. 2. Because of its very obviousness, some folks overlook completely the principle of reversed results through reversed actions. Don't. 3. Make yourself clearly aware of your present techniques. Next, question them. Finally, make whatever reversals seem needed. 4. Put it down that operation opposite is not a mere theory to entertain in your mind. It is a practical principle that is to be proved by forthright application. 5. Practice alert nonchalance as a means for building more enthusiasm and confidence. 6. Remember that money-making starts within your mind. It cannot possibly start anywhere else. Employ these mental attitudes you would have if financial fullness were now yours. 7. Do not wait for extraordinary circumstances to do good actions. Try to use ordinary situations richer. 8. Stimulate your power of dynamic duplication by covering its principles once a day for at least 10 days. By the end of that time, things start buzzing, first within your own mental motors, then outwardly in your material world. 9. It is worth literally tens of thousands of dollars for you to search out the basic procedures of men who have already attained financial fullness. Exhaust completely their special methods, even if they presently seem inapplicable to your plan. Remember, what is wanted is not the exact imitation of another, but a general application of principles that may well cover your specific case. 10. Whenever you don't know what to do next, return all at once to the fundamentals of this chapter. Sensible and clever, Benjamin Franklin concludes the matter with, "The way to wealth is as plain as the road to market." I really love this chapter. I think it has some very applicable real-world solutions to many problems that people have in finding prosperity. This is very different than many of the other episodes we've done because you can really apply this. If your business is small, it's always been small, then try operation opposite. What is it that you can do that's opposite of what you're doing now? Expanding your business, expanding your marketing, whatever it is, by thinking about the opposites. If you're not getting the results, then do the opposite to get the results. It's a fantastic idea. It makes sense in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. If what you're doing isn't working, then do something different, but do the opposite of it. And they give a great example with P.T. Barnum here. There's a great discussion of enthusiasm, not fake enthusiasm, but real enthusiasm that does work for money. It doesn't have to be forced because that is sort of insecurity that's coming out. The other one I love is alert nonchalance. And it is so true in my life, and I'm sure that many of you resonate with that idea. The people that are successful in sales or whatever it is, they have an alert nonchalance, which is the same as in transurfing, as reducing importance. You're alert. The key is alertness, being aware of opportunities that come to you, but you don't make them super important and you're kind of nonchalant about it. It's no big deal. So you can apply these things and it's powerful. There's some great money-making principles that he outlined, that you should have realistic attitudes, that you have all the powers within you. And if you make financial errors, then you know that you're just learning and it's going to make you more rich in the future. You have to believe that you can be wealthy, that it is plentiful, and that you can do it. You have to believe that. And that the more you invest, the more you return. And if you invest, it's not just about money. You can invest your service, you can invest in the product that you do, whatever it is. Simplicity, open mindfulness, tact, all those things will create material wealth. And anxiety and cynicism and impatience and fickleness, all that stuff, they'll keep you poor. We've discussed this in different ways, but I think he did a good job of explaining that. And you have opportunities. You just need to recognize those opportunities by being alert to them. And then the final thing he talked about was dynamic duplication. And it's so true. You're never going to create a business that nobody's ever created before. Whatever business that you want to create, it's been done before, but you can add your own unique flavor to it, which is the dynamic part. So a lot of times people will try to find that great new idea and they keep themselves out of the realm of being realistic. But if you look at it and say, you know, I would like to sell clothes, but I want to do it a little bit differently, different kind of clothes, whatever that is, you bring your own heart to it, but you're still duplicating other business ideas. So you can find successful businesses and then add your unique twist or flavor to it. Please let me know if you got anything from this, if there's anything that resonated with you, or if you apply any of these techniques. And you deserve to be wealthy, and you will be wealthy if you use these forces that help you to make more money. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. Now available at newearth.art. Powerful fourth density technologies. Art magic. Sigils. Images designed to magnetize and broadcast specific energies and intentions. You can access these images to help you find true prosperity, large sums of money, true love, radiant health and spiritual enlightenment with unique portals into the new earth. These images are available for you. You can acquire prints of any image. You can acquire magnets, mugs, iPhone cases, t-shirts, hoodies, greeting cards, coasters, and several different gallery wraps and styles of canvas. You can also get these images in a variety of different sizes and dimensions. You can purchase these in a variety of different ways, and they are here to enable you to transform your life. You can go to wall previews and look at these images, and you can check them out with different dimensions. In many cases, you can get images up to 72 inches for any of these images. They are designed as unique technologies for you to look into, infused with magical light at www.newearth.art. Welcome to the Reality Revolution.